Thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. My name is Julia Rutledge, and I am talking to you on behalf of University of Wisconsin-Madison, specifically the MS in Learning Analytics program. And tonight we'll be going over quite a few different things. My list is pretty long. I talk pretty quickly, but this is pretty informal. If there's any questions that you have, feel free to unmute, raise your hand, jump in the chat. I will do my best to multitask and monitor everything as best as I can. But my goal is that I'll answer some of the questions that you already have. I will provide more information that you hadn't maybe necessarily thought about and provide some ways to follow up if you think that this is something you'd want to explore a little bit further. So, with no further ado, again, my name is Julia Rutledge. I've been with UW-Madison since I started my graduate program there in 2012. I developed curriculum in this program. I teach the first course in the program. I serve as the advisor for graduate students, and I do also offer application assistance. That's a photo of me right after defending my dissertation in 2017, holding my older of my two babies. But more than that, I really am hopeful that you'll think of me not as my silly post dissertation defense photo, but really more so as your advocate in all phases of this process. So I'm your advocate not only while you're an applicant, but also while you're a student. And then, very importantly, once you're an alumni. I can't count how many letters of recommendation I write, how much career counseling I provide. And that is my job to better get to know you so that I can help escort you throughout this graduate school process. Now, many of you are probably thinking, learning analytics, is this even the program that's right for me? Is this the right field for me? And what's interesting is that I often meet with folks who say, gosh, I've always had a passion for education and a really strong interest in data. I didn't even know that this field of learning analytics existed. And to that point, our team actually created an infographic to help explain what learning analytics is and is not. So let me walk you through that real quick before we dive into the program itself. So when you think about learning analysts, you have to think about how they're using data to impact educational outcomes. So they've got to be experts in learning, in analysis, and in human-centered design. And they use things like statistics, machine learning, qualitative analysis as well to analyze all sorts of data, from video data to test data to audio, text, big data, files, all the things. And in our program, we make sure to talk about all of those different types of data and give practice for those as well. They then communicate their analyses as actionable insights, not just here are the statistics, but more so, this is what you need to do because of the statistics. And they communicate that to a wide variety of stakeholders. And because this is relatively broad, they serve in a broad realm of roles and organizations. So, job titles you might see out there could be things like instructional designers, researchers and evaluators, district analysts and learning engineers, and working for places like K through 12 school districts, higher ed, departments of education at the state and federal level, ed tech, and even corporate learning as well in private business. So again, a pretty wide variety, and I think that that actually sets the stage in a nice way to showcase the kind of diversity of professional experiences that tends to come into this program. And I'll highlight a few student stories throughout this presentation as well, so you can get a little flavor for what people were doing coming into the program and how they leverage the program to do a career transition later on. I have also peppered in a couple beautiful photos of campus. That is the education building. And I've also included a few quotes from students. This student, Christina, she was in our inaugural class beginning in 2021. And I love how she talks about being able to leverage her knowledge and experience in the program to land her current role, which is more directly supporting the student populations I'm passionate about. Specifically, she's passionate about first generation college students and is now serving as an academic advisor. I was really excited to be able to land that role after graduating from our program. At a glance, 30,000 foot perspective, our program was established in 2021. I think it's really important to note that the design of this program began in 2019, and it was always intended to be a 100% online program. So we are not an online program as a result of a global pandemic. We are actually a purposeful online program that was intentionally built to really cash out the modality of online learning and was done with forethought and a lot of planning, and able to really bring out the best of online learning and make the most of that for our students. We have currently 59 students and alumni, so a thriving network that is only growing. The program itself is 24 contiguous months. It begins in June. It is 100% online. It's $1,000 a credit. There are no other fees. You won't have to buy textbooks. In fact, I think honestly, the only other fee would be your cap and gown rental when you show up to Madison for graduation at the end of 2 years, which almost all of our students do. It's actually a blast. The program's 30 credits. I'll let you do the math. And you move through as a cohort. And this is really important because graduate school is so much about developing relationships. And our programs, courses are created to really build on conversations. And I'll get into this a little bit more in a bit. But yes, we are an online program and it is asynchronous to be flexible. But you don't want to learn in a silo. We have you working with other people on a regular weekly basis so that you can learn from each other and co-create that knowledge. At the very top, I don't mind bragging about it. In fact, US News and World Report just came out with their rankings yesterday, and we have been named the #1 school of education in the country for the third year in a row. And we also have been named the #1 department of educational psychology in the country for the third year in a row. We've been in the top 5 for the past many, many years, and I don't remember the stats on that, but this 3 for 3, pretty proud of that. And we're really proud to be contributing to that stellar reputation within our department and our school of ed. Oh, I talked about some student examples, and here's a few for you right now. So here are some examples of students of what they did while they were in the program and then what they did upon graduating. So Anjali, while she was in the program, she actually ended up obtaining a strategic data project fellowship through Harvard University. She started as an administrator at CommonLint, an ed tech company. And I want to say about a year and a half ago, shot me an email saying, thanks so much for the letter of rec. She is now a data analyst at Khan Academy. So she's within that ed tech realm, really went above and beyond and achieved that fellowship with Harvard. And I use this as an example to showcase what our students do want to do within the programs, you know, virtual walls, and then what they can do in addition to that if they so choose, if they have the time and inclination. Similarly, Amanda Vensky, she came to me after her first year and said, Julia, I've always really wanted to study abroad. I did my undergrad at UW-Madison. I'm doing my graduate work at UW-Madison. I feel like I kind of need to expand my horizons a bit. And so that was kind of a unique request. Most of our students wouldn't normally want to do that because most are all working professionals with families and lives and jobs. But we figured something out for her. She was able to study abroad at University of Copenhagen in her second summer while concurrently taking our classes as well. And it was pretty cool. When she started, she was working in veteran services at UW-Madison and found a passion for academic advising and now serves as an academic advisor at Madison as well. Last story I'll share for right now is Jay Winston. She was really interested in research and wanted to attend our more prominent research events. Solar is the Society for Learning Analytics Research. It's probably the most well-known one globally, and they always put on these fabulous conferences. It was pretty wonderful. She applied for traveler scholarships and was able to attend LAC and LASSI. Those are their acronyms. Get ready for lots of acronyms, by the way, in the world of education. But was able to attend those with her expenses covered in, I believe, Austin and Kyoto, and was really proud of her. She came in working as a trainer in HR at Exact Sciences, so within the business realm. She now works as a leadership development coach and specialist for the city of Madison. So again, another career transition leap where she's able to really dig in and bring in those data analytics skills into the work she's doing now. Springtime in Madison, there is nothing more beautiful. Mary Zhang, one of our scholarship recipients, she said that every instructor has been flexible and accommodating. And I bring that up because, yes, we have phenomenal instructors. And I joke that I'm a bit of a bus driver, and my job is to get just the best and brightest minds aboard my bus and let them shine and do what they do. But I think what's important here is she talks also about the flexibility and the accommodations. Our instructors do understand that grad school is not the only thing in your life, that you usually do have people you're caring for in your life, that you have work that has deadlines. We work with you. And as long as you communicate with us, our students have all said how helpful it has been to be able to call up an instructor and say, hey, I think I need a couple days extension on this project, or is there a way to flex this assignment to make it a little bit more meaningful for the work that I do now? So on and so forth. We understand as working professionals, you need some wiggle room, and we are there to provide that for you. Program logistics. As I've said, it is 100% online and it is 24 months, so very accessible for working professionals. It's also very flexible. The program is asynchronous to a certain extent, as much as you want it to be. And let me dig in on that a little bit more. So, all of our programs, assignments, and materials are available each week asynchronously. So you don't, for example, have to do something like this, which frankly I don't think is best practice, where you have to go at a prescribed time, sit down, watch someone present something live, absorb it at possibly not a very convenient time for you, and then move on with your day. Rather, our thought is watch our video lectures, which are beautiful and professionally done. Watch our video lectures, read the readings on your own time. If you're like a 2 in the morning person, do that. That's perfectly fine. Then later on in the week, you'll be able to meet with your group. It's also multimodal. Frankly, if you're taking classes that have the exact same kind of assignments for 24 contiguous months, you're going to get really bored. Good news is that this program was built in the Department of Educational Psychology, which studies how people learn. We understand that, and as such, we've been able to bring in a lot of variety of assignments, of modalities. So I'm talking about video lectures, video textbooks, podcasts, journal articles, reflections, discussion posts, collaborative, um, asynchronous readings that does exist, so on and so forth. So we really try to mix it up for you to keep you on your toes, where we still keep our due dates rhythmic so that you kind of have a rhythm to follow and know what to expect. More on that in a bit. Last, collaborative. We've got a lot of teamwork. Learning is inherently social. It would be a shame to learn in a silo. That makes no sense. And so, the way we've designed it in each course of the program is that for the first part of the week, you work on things on your own time, 2 in the morning if you like. But then, after you've grappled with the material on your own, you'll meet with a small group. I survey students at the beginning of every semester to find out their logistical availability. If you prefer Sunday mornings or Thursday evenings, I'll pair you up with this like logistical people. I change that up every semester to make sure you get exposure to working with others. But together as a group, usually sometime over the weekend, you'll then work through a series of prompts or activities together. What's phenomenal is that this is where students burst their own bubble. They're not caught in their own head thinking about, well, how do I apply this information? They start hearing from other students how they're applying information in completely different professional contexts and circumstances. And as such, there is this co-creation of knowledge that develops because you're able to think about the content beyond your own world. And that we found has really enriched the conversations and made that teamwork and that collaboration so much more valuable. Again, you do move through as a cohort as well. It's a prescribed curriculum. Everyone takes the same classes. You really get to know each other, which is phenomenal, especially in an online async program. Aerial view. Madison is lovely. Oh, Casey, she's actually now a PhD student in our department. I love how she talks about she never felt like she was ever left in the dust. There was a lot of support. That is very intentional. We have layers of support to help our students. So from the group work that we've created that is scaffolded for you to really lean on each other, to the most phenomenal angels on the planet. Our TAs are technological geniuses and are incredibly helpful for our students. Our instructional team is fantastic. Our faculty members that are contributing are world-renowned experts. And then there's me, who's kind of, by your side from the very beginning of the process throughout, frankly, as long as you keep asking me for letters of rec, I'm there for you. And so having these levels of support that are ingrained within the curriculum themselves and then within the program themselves really helps to buoy up our students and get them through. I thought it'd be really helpful to look at the curriculum from a larger perspective. As you can see here on the left, year one, it's all about building those fundamentals. Thinking and learning is a course that I teach myself. I love teaching this class. It's all about thinking, learning, teaching, knowing, and doing from different theoretical perspectives. It's very introspective as well. We're constantly asking students to think about themselves as a learner and what that means to them through different theoretical lenses. This is the only course that does not deal with data, but we do also within this course start in first encouraging you in the first week, but then forcing you in the second week to start using AI, but in very monitored and strategic ways. Within each course of our curriculum, we require you to use AI, but from different perspectives. So sometimes as a time saver, sometimes as a thought partner, sometimes from an engineering perspective where you're actually building one from the back end, sometimes to think about the ethical implications of data with or without AI, so on and so forth. So AI, if we think about it as just a time saver that's shooting yourself in the foot, it's just a shame. It's so much more than that, and it really undermines your own capabilities as well. So we understand that students are most likely going to use some AI to a certain extent. Perfectly fine. Let's talk about it. But what we'd rather do is show you how it can be an incredibly strategic tool in your toolkit, but one of many. So AI, again, woven throughout the program. Ethics and equity also very much woven throughout the program. We talk about equity in education and the need for learning analysts to really understand the ethical implications of their analyses. This is not a one seminar lecture that we provide, but really throughout all of our courses, we're constantly asking students to reflect on, well, with these analytical choices that you made in your methodology, was this ethical? How might that hurt or help the population that you're studying right now? How might you talk about it to stakeholders in a way that could hurt or help those learners, so on and so forth. So it's so much more than a mission statement. It's really embedded throughout our curriculum. Moving on, I do have one class here, and I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but fundamental statistics in year one is our one optional course. It's one credit. If you're a student going to graduate school who's like me, who hadn't taken a math class since high school, this may be useful to you. This is for our students who probably haven't taken math or stats in quite a long time, haven't had any experience coding. We developed this in response to our first year students saying, I really could have used a little bit more of a leg up before diving into quantitative analysis in the fall. So this one credit course, it does not add more to your course load. You'd end up taking my class for 3 credits rather than 4 to take this fundamental stats class as well to really build you up and make you feel prepared and confident for the fall. In the fall, we have that blue one that has the very long title called The Foundations of Qualitative and Quantitative Research Methods. This is a really nice introduction to both qual and quant. And frankly, as a learning analyst, if you're analyzing learners, learners are so much more than just numbers. You need to be able to understand the context that they're coming from, be it that learning environment, the home environment, and usually that involves qualitative data, text, observations, interviews, so on and so forth. And so this class really presents both of those in an initial way, but side by side, so that rather than having to choose just one or the other, which seems pretty segregated, instead, you're able to start building this familiarity of knowing when to use one, how to use the other, when you can use them in combination in working on your projects and your research questions. The last course we have listed under year one is the only course we have that only deals with quantitative data. and analysis. This is learning analytics theory and practice. It's a broad survey course where we pepper students with a plethora of different methodologies. So you'll get some awareness. Some you'll think, I really don't like that method. I hope I never have to use it. And others you might think, oh, that really struck a chord. I want to dive in deeper and play around with that a little bit more. And we give you opportunities to pick and choose and do that. Year two is all about application. And in year two, unlike year one, where we prescribe data sets for you to use, year two, hey, if you've got data that you can work with from your place of employment, by all means, please bring that into our assignments. The more that our curriculum can enrich your work, the more your work can enrich our curriculum. And so in year two, you have your last methods course, which is called quantitative ethnography. This one, it's not an oxymoron. It's actually using statistics to analyze words and qualitative data. Actually, I took this as a graduate student myself. It's phenomenal, a bit mind-blowing. And then in the fall of year two, you have two courses concurrently. They were built side by side, so we made sure to balance the workload each week. But the first is instructional design for learning analytics, where students go through a very structured process of designing a learning module, but embedding learning analytics tools throughout, not just, a simple pre-post test, but really thinking carefully about the kinds of data they would need to help make decisions about their learners and how to move forward. And then the other course is Conversations and Visualizations, was essentially a communications course. And we built that into this program because frankly, it's one thing if you can make a beautiful analysis, but it's another if you can actually talk about it, write about it, and present it. And so in that course, we have students choose an analysis that they've already done in the program, choose three hypothetical stakeholder audiences like principal, teacher, and student, and present that analysis in a variety of modalities using the data storytelling and visualization techniques that we teach in that course, and really finding ways to make the analysis impactful for different audiences, which is a skill in of itself. And last but not least, we have the capstone, and let me dive into that a little bit more. The capstone course is all about a consulting project. And so by this time, students have worked with just about everyone in the cohort. So they self-select their own teams. They know at this point who is a good balance for them. And they work with an organization of their choice. Typically, it's one of the students' employers. And they perform a consulting project. So sitting down with that client, finding out, gosh, what burning questions do you have that you've never had the resources to dive into? How can we help with that? Lots of different authentic tasks. So performing needs assessments, doing data cleaning, performing the analysis, communicating that analysis with those communication skills. And throughout that, we have so many different supports for the student teams. We have alumni amigos, so kind of like phone a friend. They can call, alumni from the program. We have boards of directors that are all faculty instructors and alumni from our program that are there to do dress rehearsals for our students before their client meetings. And then we have a very phenomenal instructor and TA as well, giving feedback every step of the way through the weekly scaffolded project. So the final products really vary in terms of what the teams create because frankly, each organization's need is different, but they all are viable, helpful, and authentic. And it tends to be one of the students' favorite experiences. Britta's a special ed teacher in Madison. I'm actually working on something for her right now. We were just emailing. But it was pretty phenomenal. Their team uncovered some inconsistencies in the PBIS implementations. And because of that, the schools were able to dive in deeper, find the root of the problem, and then start working on fixes for that. And so some really important work that probably would not have come about if this capstone project had not been there, at least not at that time. Other ways that we help prepare our students for the real world with authentic tasks is the portfolio. This is something that we have students create during that communications course in the fall of the second year. And it's a comprehensive website. This is an artifact that students use in job interviews and trying to get their foot in the door. Because frankly, it's kind of ridiculous, for lack of a better word, when on your resume, 2 years of your life in a master's program comes down to one line in a bullet description. This program is so much more than that, but talking about that and explaining it to potential job opportunities is kind of tricky and difficult. And this provides a much simpler way to showcase the breadth and depth of your work. So this is an example from Casey's page, from her front page. This is an example from Craig's page that showcases all of the different projects he's done throughout his homework assignments in the program. I love how he describes himself as an educator who stubbornly believes that data can be used for good. Great sense of humor. Here's a page from Kate. This page asks her to bring in all the skills that she's acquired, both in and beyond the program. And so this website is really nice, holistic view of who you are. And it's a tool that is constantly flexing to what you need it to be used for during your time in the program if you are seeking, employment opportunities and certainly beyond. Most people come into our program wanting to leverage this into something, whether it's growth within their department, pivoting to a new field, so on and so forth. And we try our best to provide a lot of authentic and tangible products that you can brag about in a job interview. Oh, I love this. Carissa talks about balance in terms of work-life school balance. And I bring this up at this point now because I feel like after talking to you about the curriculum and the capstone and the portfolio, you might be like, oh my gosh, how could I possibly do this and keep down a job and, get a certain amount of sleep every night? Well, it is possible. And we are really strategic about how we've built things. I think as long as you are self-regulated and communicative, you will be fine. It will work for you. And the structure of the program is really built to be flexible and accommodating for our students. Balance. I just said it, but I'll say it again. Balance is huge in our curriculum and course design as well. So let me walk you through a few things to get my point across. When we talk about balance, I talk a lot about this balance in data between quantitative and qualitative. Most data analytic programs, we're all teaching the same methodologies. Methodology is agnostic. It doesn't care what kind of data you're working with, but within our program, we're always talking about learners. And as such, we've got a really nice balance between talking about quantitative and qualitative data and methods. In terms of data, we're also talking about what you're using. And so in the first year, we offer options of prescribed data sets to choose from in every course and assignment, frankly, because it's sort of a big lift to get your own data. But in the second year, oh my goodness, if you have access to yours, like I said before, use it. And we highly encourage that. Make it valuable for you. In terms of assignments, we have a nice balance between practice exercises that are low stakes, more low maintenance. You can get messy, there's not big penalties, and then scaffolded long-term summative projects that really build your knowledge and build on those low stake assignments and bring them up into something that's tangible and noteworthy. In terms of activities, we have a balance between individual reflection and group collaboration. So you've got this balance each week of sort of being in your own head on things and then chatting with other folks about them. And then last, balance in the teaching team. Each of our courses were designed by a faculty researcher who's eminent in their field. I don't know if you felt like this sometimes when you were in school, but sometimes the person who wrote the book isn't the best at teaching it to real world practitioners. Not to undermine our faculty in any way, but I think it's important because we do have all working professionals as students in this program. They need to also learn from working professionals as well who understand what that can be like. And so we've hired faculty to design the more evergreen components of our courses, but then we've hired amazing practitioners. All of them have received their PhD from UW-Madison. The vast majority, I think, actually from the Department of Educational Psychology as well. Many of them I had classes with myself. But these practitioners are your instructors. They're your boots on the ground, feedback, feedback, feedback. They're the ones that are translating that ivory tower messaging to something a little bit more practical and real world for everyone each week. In terms of what a week would look like, this is a sample week from the course that I teach. And as you can see at the beginning of the week, it's all individual things where you're marinating, you're reflecting, you're starting to get up and be a little active, but again, within your own head, with yourself. And then near the end of the week, you're meeting with a group. Something to note is that while we do change the modalities of things just to kind of keep it fresh. We don't change due dates. So in our program, all due dates are always Thursdays at midnight, Mondays at midnight. So you never have to wake up in a panic on a Saturday wondering, oh my gosh, what did I miss? You know, when your due dates always are. And it's really nice to be able to plan ahead for that, especially when there is, you know, when there are other things in your life like work, family, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, this is called Fill the Hill. I had to throw it in there. If you haven't been to Madison before, it's a philanthropy. Each flamingo represents some cash going to a great cause. And over the course of the week, you just see this hill, Bascom Hill, getting filled with all these flamingos. I used to bring my kids there to frolic around on the grass with the flamingos each year. It's a blast. But that'll be the backdrop to this quote, which I will read this in full. And I love this so much. I actually put it on our website as well. But Matthew came into our program. He already had a PhD, but he was a qualitative researcher and he was really comfortable in educational technologies, was really uncomfortable with statistics and quantitative analysis. And he said, previously, I viewed stats and quant research as this cold, steely, sterile enterprise of dehumanizing people into numbers without knowing and understanding the why of behaviors. This program has caused me to do a 180 on that perspective. And I was so impressed by him for taking it on and for really pushing himself to take on the quantitative aspects of his capstone project as well. He now is working at a different university, had a nice career jump after graduating from that program, from our program. But I bring this one up because sometimes our students think that coming in, they might need to be experts in quantitative analysis or statistics, and that the truth is, no, you absolutely do not. If you're mathophobic, probably not the right program for you. But if you get excited about data, if you're curious about working with numbers and technology, we have all the supports in place to help get you up to where you need to be. And so, again, I mentioned this before, but I hadn't taken a math class since high school. So I somehow didn't have to in my education degree in my undergrad. And so when I came to graduate school, I was completely overwhelmed. That is not the experience we want for our students. And we've really built in structural supports to ensure that that does not happen for you, regardless of the background you're coming from. Commitment to equity. It's again not just a mission statement, but we have woven these ethical and equitable questions throughout almost every assignment, frankly, and definitely every course within the program, because again, we want to send out to this world learning analysts that are going to do good in what they do. Now, is it your primary objective? And maybe it may not be, and that's okay, but it's absolutely our responsibility to ensure that you are thinking about the implications of the work that you do and how to make sure that it is responsible in the environment you so do it. We do have a scholarship available. Anyone is eligible to apply for the Education Data Impact Scholarship. This scholarship it covers, I believe, 40% of the program's tuition, and you can use it for 2 years in the program while you're there, as long as you remain in good standing. And we're really looking for folks that are committed to serving an underserved population of their choice. And so, for example, when I look at these folks who are all recipients, we had people that are passionate about first generation college students, about technical college students, music therapy, dyslexia therapy, early childhood educators, girls in STEM in urban environments, rural school districts, so on and so forth. And so really any underserved population qualifies, any person qualifies. We're looking for a proven track record in terms of volunteering or work service, that you've cared about this population and you're looking to use our program to further impact that population. The scholarship application, it's a 500-word essay. It's very straightforward. It's used or we measure it alongside your program application when we are working through the scholarships. That's after May 1st. So apply to the program first, I always say, and then consider applying for this one as well. A couple more student stories for you. How am I on time? Oh, I'm getting there. Some alumni, what moves have they made? Diana, she came into our program. Interestingly, she was a substitute teacher and the school district school board member and president actually while she was with us. She's now a PhD student in the educational leadership and policy analysis program at UW-Madison, still on the school board as well, I believe. Yi Chen, she was an assistant professor at Bard College. Similarly to Matthew, qualitative background, but always was really fascinated by data and understood the impact that numbers can have. She's now a data analyst at Northern Arizona University. And I actually just got word, I just did a few interviews for her. She just got hired at UC Santa Cruz, doing data analytics there as well. So I need to update my slide, but this just happened within the last week or so. So congratulations to Yi Chen. Danny, another congratulations. She was records and enrollments at UW-Madison when she came into the program, and I will never forget. In the fall of her second year, she emailed me saying, I think I finally figured out what I've always wanted to do. I'm in love with this instructional design class that I'm taking. It's really just lighting me up. And she is now an instructional designer for the Wisconsin School of Business, which is incredibly prestigious and a huge jump. So happy for her and the moves that she has made. Oh my gosh, I meant to hide that slide and I guess I didn't unhide it. Don't worry about October 8th, Career Outlook. Although this is a good opportunity to say, I did a webinar in October about more specific career potential, career searches, that kind of thing. It is recorded and posted on our website. So if you're curious, feel free to go to our events page on the website and you can watch that recording. No problem. I don't believe you have to register for it. Provides a lot of information about the job market. So maybe I should keep this unhid, but I'll just update it. Apologies about that. Okay, I talk really, really, really fast, but we're already at this point right now, and I figure, you know what? If you have other questions, I'll stay on the line, no problem. But if you have decided or do indeed decide to apply, it's very straightforward. So your application, you'll need to include a statement of purpose. It's less than 2 pages. It's essentially you talking about why are you interested in the program? What qualifications do you think you have that will help? What do you hope to learn, and how do you hope to leverage what you learn within the program? Include a resume or CV. We do not have a preference in terms of format. You'll need to include your unofficial transcripts. If you have less than a 3.0 GPA in your last degree, contact me. Sometimes exceptions can be made. We understand that sometimes people maybe don't make the best decisions when they're 18 years old and they're undergraduate. You shouldn't necessarily be penalized for that. So I can often serve as an advocate if needed to shepherd you through that process. And then you'll have to list 2 references. Our admissions committee, of which I am a part, we care a lot more about how well someone knows you than of the prestige of their job title. So I don't recommend reaching out to a professor you worked with maybe 10 years ago who might not remember you. Rather, think about who can attest to your work ethic and character. So someone who's a close manager or a mentor. You could do a colleague. If you do, at least have one person in a more managerial position as well. But really, again, someone that can talk to how it is to work with you. That's what we want to know. The timeline is, a little shortened now because it is April 8th, but there's still plenty of time to apply. Everything is due by midnight on May 1st. The earlier you can submit, the earlier you will find out. What will happen is as soon as your application is submitted and your letters of recommendation are received, our committee will meet. We're actually meeting even less than 3 business days. We're trying to do a pretty quick turnaround as much as we can in April to get the process going for folks. I will let you know if our admissions committee gives you the green light from our department. If they do, I'll let you know that, and then I take your application, I send it to the UW-Madison Graduate School. The graduate school will request you to upload your official transcripts from all the institutions you've listed, and then they will perform an audit where they ensure that you are indeed who you say you are and you've got the GPA you said you had. And if all goes well, which it almost always does, they will then give you their formal acceptance via email. It is typically a 2-week period. I am constantly refreshing and checking on things every day when it's at the graduate school to make sure that you don't get lost in the shuffle. And then you get to celebrate. Our program begins June 15th. And you're not alone in the application process though, because as part of your advocate, I'm here to help you figure out if this is the right program for you. And if it is, I'm more than happy to help you with your application as well. So I often will meet with students on Zoom and sort of as a thought partner as you're putting together your application essay. Or if it's easier for you, if you have a draft started, send me your draft in a Word doc or a Google link, and I'll provide feedback for you and let you know how I think you should best put your foot forward for the admissions committee. So again, you're not alone. I mean, we don't ever really work in silos anymore or think in silos anymore, and you don't have to apply in a silo either. I'm here to help you, um, feel comfortable and confident as you go through the process. And with that, I'll end with this quote from Essence. She's a second grade teacher in DC, and she said, at the heart of all this growth is a continued commitment to values I've held all along: equity, inclusion, and student voice. What's changed is that I now have the tools and language to back that commitment up in powerful, evidence-based ways. And I think that's just such a powerful quote to end with. Because truly, that's the goal of our program is to enable our students to make an impact in the worlds that they care about. So with that, I will just say thank you so much. Here are some photos from graduations in the few years past. Please take down my contact information. That's the website. If you haven't, I'm guessing you've already seen it. If you're here today, you probably have. But again, if you are interested at all, I am more than happy to meet with you, chat with you. I talk to prospective applicants all the time to help them figure out, is this the right next step for me in my career trajectory? Thank you again for joining me. I will stop recording now, but I will be happy to hang out if anyone has any questions. Feel free to jump on. Good night.
Thanks so much for all your information.
You got it.